Know yourself and you will know the universe. This popular quote comes from the oracle at Delphi in Greece, and it essentially means that if you know and understand the true nature of yourself, then you'll understand and unlock the secrets of the universe and your place in the universe. And this all ties into what we'll be talking about today, which is the principle of correspondence, which is one of the greatest laws in the universe once fully understood, that once you apply, you can begin to instantly see the results in your day-to-day life. This principle states, as above, so below. As below, so above. Or you might have heard the biblical rendition of this quote, on earth as it is in heaven, coming from Matthew 6, verse 10. This law is extremely powerful, and it is said that the grasping of this principle gives one the means of solving many a dark paradox and hidden secret of nature. There are planes beyond our understanding, but when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable to us. And by the end of this video, you'll have a thorough understanding of what the law of correspondence is, why understanding this law unlocks a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world we live in, and how to apply this law to live happier, healthier, and wealthier. So with no further ado, let's dive into it. So what exactly is the principle of correspondence? The principle of correspondence states that which is above is similar or alike to that which is below, and that which is below is like to that which is above. Essentially, the universe is one giant mirror. So what exactly is meant by the above in relation to the universe and Earth? The above in this case would be the macrocosm, or the laws of the very large things in our universe. These are the laws that govern the creation which we consider is seemingly outside of ourselves. And while the planet, the galaxy, and the universe around us seems like it's outside of ourselves, we know at a deep subconscious level that these very large things in our universe are not outside of ourselves. And in fact, we are one with them. But through only using our five senses and a broken educational system that reiterates the same notion, we unfortunately perceive the outside universe as something outside of ourselves. While on the other hand, the microcosm, or the very small or the individuated units that make up the whole in their aggregate, is just a reflection of the macrocosm. The microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm, and the macrocosm is a reflection of the microcosm. In fact, they cannot be separated from each other. As one goes, so the other goes. Which leads us to a further understanding that the universe itself is actually a holographic system. So in order to better understand how the universe itself is a holographic system, we first have to understand what a hologram is and how it works. A hologram is like a 3D photograph that uses light to create the illusion of depth. Essentially, you can take a flat image and by shining a laser through the image, project out a 3D image. Now, the reason they call it a holo or hologram or holistic image is because, let's just say for this example, you break a hologram into 4 different pieces by cutting it. When looking at those pieces from the hologram, you don't have a quarter of the image on one part of the hologram, and then a quarter of the image on the second part of the hologram, and then another quarter of the image on the third, and another quarter on the fourth. Instead, you would actually have 4 whole images in each cut up quarter. And these whole images in each quarter would only lose their resolution by just a quarter, meaning everything is contained in all the smaller parts, which is exactly like the reality we're living in. So how is this? Well, we have to understand that our universe is a holographic one, meaning the universe itself is inside each individual. The chakras themselves are in alignment with the solar system. The earth itself is made up of around 70% of water, and humans are made up of 70% of water. Tree roots look like our lungs and bronchioles, and trees help us breathe. We also go through mood swings, like how the moon affects the movements or tides of the ocean. And the funny thing is, some people still don't think human beings, being over 70% water, aren't affected by the moon cycles. Anyway, so just like the universe is inside the individual, the universe itself is like an individual. In fact, they're reflections of each other, which is why understanding the law of correspondence is so essential. Because if you understand the workings of each individual person, then you'll understand the greater laws that govern this universe and how they operate. Similarly, to help us understand how the macrocosmic laws work will also help us understand how the individual consciousness functions within each individual within that macrocosmic universe, in this case, the world we're living in. And this is one of the main things, if the not main thing, that the powers that should not be don't want us learning about ourselves. Which leads us to our next point. Our reality is also fractal in nature. Fractals are shapes that look similar at any scale you zoom in or out to. So to help you visualize what fractals are, I want you guys to imagine a tree branch. Now, as you zoom into this tree branch, each tree branch splits off into a smaller tree branch and a smaller tree branch, but it turns into a smaller tree branch and so on and so forth, creating a pattern that repeats itself. Essentially, they are complex shapes made up of smaller copies of themselves. For example, there's a short 10-minute video called Powers of 10, which illustrates this perfectly. It shows you that at the smallest microcosmic level, the structure of the atom is similar to the structure of the solar system, which is similar to the structure of the galaxy. They work and they look the same way. And if you pull back far enough, you'll keep seeing the same pattern repeat itself. In this video, they basically zoom up into the cosmos and show you that everything is self-similar, and then they zoom back down into the human hand and show you that the cells at the atomic and subatomic level of the hand are exactly self-identical to what you just saw up in the cosmos. So with this knowledge, we now understand that the universe is both holographic, meaning the whole is contained in the parts, and vice versa, and it is also fractal, meaning it is self-similar across all scales of its existence. So now that we know how this law works, how can we use this law to improve our lives and what's being created in the world around us? Well, with an understanding that the microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm and vice versa, we can take this knowledge and apply it to our own life circumstances and understand why they are the way they are and how to change them if we'd like to. This unveils and unlocks a lot of hidden potentials within each of us that we might have not even tapped into. But I'm going to show you guys how you can do this starting today. Which means that however we truly feel about ourselves in our heart of hearts or the soul will eventually be expressed in our behaviors, conditions, and circumstances and actions in the real world. And James Allen puts it perfectly in his book, As a Man Thinketh, when he says, "The outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are." Which means we can try to hide our inner thoughts all we like, but just like seeds that you plant underneath the soil and eventually water, over time, by focusing on that inner state, it's like pouring water into the soil, and those innermost thoughts will eventually poke up through the soil and be visible on the screen of space to everyone around you and your current life circumstances. Which means if we feel fearful, anxious, and angry on the inside, then we will live a life of laziness, chaos, and depression on the outside. But on the other hand, if we feel courageous, peaceful, and happy on the inside, then we will live a life of productivity, organization, and success. Which means it's up to you to choose and accept thoughts in alignment with who you wish to be, and then reject the thoughts pulling you away from your goal. And then once a thought in alignment with your goal comes into your mind, hold on to it and begin feeling as if you've already become that person. Then after holding on and emotionally getting involved in whatever thought this was, then take action and do whatever hunch or inspiration in alignment with your goal pops up into your mind immediately after. Even if it seems like a small action, do it. Taking small action is literally like pouring cement at the foundation of what will one day be a skyscraper. It might not seem like much while you're doing it, but it's the consistent small actions that produce the highest version of yourself in the long run. And remember this, even though you might not see immediate results, you can relax and realize that you've already set in motion changing your thinking patterns to those of positive things in alignment with who you want to be. And it's only a matter of time before those positive inner feelings become expressions in the outer screen on the physical reality space that we live in. And this is something I struggled with a lot because I've always wanted to be a YouTuber growing up. I even started my own channel at 12 years old doing shoe reviews on a grainy little flip camera. And yeah, I was passionate about it, but I was also extremely passionate about something else, which happened to be basketball, which led me to putting about 50% effort in each thing and never achieving maximized results in either thing. And this was because my thoughts, emotions, and actions were all over the place. One day I wanted to stay up late and work on my jump shot, And the next day, I wanted to film and edit videos for my YouTube channel. So you're probably asking yourself, okay, how does this relate to the law of correspondence? Well, because my inner thoughts and feelings were scattered and confused, my outer world eventually became scattered and confused, which then led me to having more scattered and confused thoughts and feelings. It's a really vicious cycle we can get stuck in if we don't understand how these laws work. And this, unfortunately, is why the world's in the current state it's in. The majority of people's thoughts and emotions have manifested into negative outward actions. And the combination of everyone's inner world will be reflected in the conditions, circumstances, and attitudes on the screen of the physical world. So to understand this better, think of the physical world like a big pool. We as humans have the ability to bring fresh, clean water to contribute to the pool, as shown here. Or dirty, murky water to bring to the pool, as shown over here. For this example, let the clean water be a representation of positive thoughts, emotions, and actions. And let the dirty, filthy water represent negative thoughts, negative emotions, and negative actions. Remember, each of us is contributing our share of the water to this pool. So over time, if enough of us pour murky, dirty water or negativity into the universal pool instead of clean, fresh water or positivity, then the pool or the physical world at large will become darkened and chaotic. But if more of us pour clean, fresh water or positive thoughts, emotions, and actions into the universal pool, then the physical world at large will reflect back to us peace, happiness, and health. This is why it's so important we as individuals watch what we're thinking about and letting into our minds, because eventually whatever we let into our minds will be expressed onto the screen of space in our actions and behaviors. And if enough of us think and feel a certain way, then that certain way will become the state of the world. If enough people don't care about the current conditions of the world at large, then those current conditions will continue and increase. If the majority of people feel internal opposition, then the world as a whole will reflect external opposition, which in turn leads to the powers that should not be stepping in and acting as manipulators for their own egotistical will. This is why we need more than ever to begin thinking and acting in a more positive way as a collective of individuals. And then not just thinking this way, but actually beginning to care enough to put it into action to help change the conditions of the world. While we may not be able to change everyone's inner state of being, we can change our own. Realize that you have within you the ability to begin pouring healthy, clean, fresh water into the currently muddy pool. And if enough of us get together as a collective and begin changing our thoughts, behaviors, and actions and pouring the clean, healthy water into the muddy pool, eventually that murky, muddy water will filter out and be pure again. And the universal pool, or the universe itself, will become clean and whole, flushing out most, if not all, of the negativity that's piling up. But it all starts with you, choosing what water you're going to bring to the pool.